Market, since the concerns around the Fed have been showing that maybe it's not quite as bad as expected. And happy Thanksgiving. We have a bit of a shorter week in trading, as well as a bit of a shorter weekly update with a little less data. But we do have some retail sales and some producer price index kind of inflation data to cover ahead of the holiday. I'm Brandon Steele, financial advisor with Mainsail Financial Group here in Bellevue, and our goal is to leave you feeling more empowered after every interaction. And again, this week is a little bit shorter for a couple of reasons. Number one, keep in mind markets are closed for the holiday tomorrow for Thanksgiving, and then also shortened trading hours on Friday. Plus, we just don't have a whole lot of data necessarily this week because some of the inflation data we were hoping to get was delayed a little bit further. So what I will cover though is we did get retail sales, we got inflation, and we got jobless claims, which actually all are very important in telling a bit of a story anyway. So this will still be a very important update. Let's start with retail sales, maybe the less important one, or at least less eye grab or attention grabbing of the three here. But retail sales did come out, and retail sales were up 0.2%. So again, not quite as storytelling, I guess, as the other two. But let's switch gears and talk about inflation and jobs, because obviously these remain to be two primary focus areas given the Fed's path and what could come, as well as really, what I think people are looking at in the economy and whether or not there could be some challenges on the horizon. So starting with inflation, unfortunately, we do not have consumer price index numbers or PCE numbers that we were hoping to get today, but we do have producer price index numbers that came out yesterday. So yesterday we got PPI numbers. Again, we have the headline number and we have the core. Headline was up 0.3%, which is not, not out of the ordinary, I guess, or really in line, I guess I should say, with where most analysts had come in with expectations. And then core was up 0.1%. So that was below expectations going into this reading as well. Now, again, this is producer price index. The consumer side of it, of course, is where most of the attention goes. But a lot of times these are generally in I don't want to say lockstep, but there's a little bit of correlation across the two. And again, hopefully we'll get some more inflation data soon, but nonetheless, hopefully this at least gives a little bit of a glimpse as to what's going on the producer side of things. The third thing I do want to touch on is initial jobless claims. Now, this comes out every week. This goes up and down pretty significantly over time. So take this with a bit of a grain of salt. But today, initial jobless claims came out at 216,000, a little bit below the expectations. Now, that doesn't mean that it was significantly below or that the expectations were extremely high or anything like that. But nonetheless, where I'm going with this is that the labor market, since the concerns around the Fed, have been showing that maybe it's not quite as bad as expected. Now, time will tell. This is early stages from the original jobs data that did suggest there could be some challenges. But for those who tune in weekly, you may remember a couple of weeks back, we talked a little bit about what anticipated layoffs could look like. It was a big headline story in the news given the delay in data, and that was something that they had latched onto. This might suggest maybe those headline numbers or those anticipations and how that translates to jobs may not be as bad as expected. But again, time will tell. And what I will share is be sure to tune in next week, because although this is a shorter week, next week we do get jobs week started. So that will be very telling, assuming we get the data, which we should, but that will be very telling to kind of expand on some of this jobs data and ultimately see a little more recently where we stand. So be sure to tune in next week. Again, we will do basically kick off jobs week. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more of this data along the way as well. But do keep in mind markets are closed tomorrow for the holiday and a half day on Friday. So a little bit slower week here. For everybody traveling, travel safe and have a great Thanksgiving. We will see you next Thursday at 3.